Sound Machine is a science fiction story about a man called Kolosner who has this belief that he can invent a particular machine with which we can listen to subsonic and supersonic sound. So the story begins in one of the garages of this man called Kolosner. And when he was trying to invent, his doctor comes to meet him. So from there we will start. We will study this story line by line so that for MCQ, for short question, and for 5 marks answer, you have a thorough understanding about the chapter. So I request you to open the book and I'll read it line by line and explain to you. So if you have the book, please do get it and open it. It was a warm summer evening, and Kolosner walked quickly to the front gate, around the side of the house, into the garden at the back. So the story begins, and we find that there is a man called Kolosner, who is a rich man, because we come to know that he has a garden and he has a house. And in those days, people with garden, even today, people with garden normally are people who are rich. So he comes out of his house in the front gate, from the gate, and then he goes to the garden. He went down to his garden until he came to a wooden shed, a kind of small, to explain you, kind of garage, a kind of storehouse where people keep things. So he unlocked that door and he went inside and closed the door. So this is the setting of the story. That the story begins in one of the shed, chowni, kind of garage of Mr. Kalosner, who has this belief that he can invent a machine which has the power to, uh, which is a power which can enable you to hear supersonic and subsonic sound. That means the sound which human ear normally cannot perceive, and he believes that he can invent a particular instrument which can help human ear to listen to subsonic and supersonic sound. The interior of the shed was an unpainted room. Against the wall on the left, there were long wooden bench on it. Among the many littering of wires and batteries and small sharp tools, there stood a black box, about 3 feet long, like the shape of a coffin box. So here, imagine it's a movie. The camera zoom in to the desk on which everything is kept. First, a house. At the back of the house, a garden. In the garden, there's a small kind of garage, small room, and there's a wooden bench, desk kind of thing. And there were littering of wires. मतलब चारों तरफ वायर, जैसे वो डीजे लोग का वायर होता वैसे था. बैटरीज एंड a small sharp tool, कुछ मशीन था, और एक छोटा सा ब्लैक बॉक्स था. 3 feet. 3 feet is half the length of a normal human being. मतलब एक इंसान का half normal 5 foot 6 foot man. And then narrator compares this small box, which is the invention of this man, to a coffin box. Now, those who have seen coffin box know that in a coffin box, Christians are buried. So why would the writer compare an invention with such an ominous thing of coffin? Coffin में मतलब लोग मुर्दों को डालते हैं. And here is an idea born. So there are two reasons for this. One, coffin is a symbol of death. So indirectly, writer is saying that this idea of Mr. Kolosner is bound to die. That's a premonition. We do not know now. But when we will end the story, we'll realize that the author was intentionally calling it coffin, thereby giving us a hint कि ये idea तो मरने के लिए बना है. मतलब there are some ideas which die, like there are some seeds which do not germinate. So these ideas bound to die. Then it is not just a coffin, it's a small coffin. Now, obvious the reason is it's a small, so it's बच्चे का coffin ही होगा. But there's a symbolic interpretation to it, that is, A child is supposed to become big and then normally expecting in a social scenario एक बच्चा बड़ा होगा फिर बूढ़ा होगा फिर वो मरे. Here is a child dying, symbolically making a statement that the idea of Mr. Kalosner will die at a very initial stage. जैसे बच्चा छोटा ही में मर जाता है, वैसे ही in the same way the invention of Mr. Kalosner will die at a very early stage. So first stanza, the first paragraph, we come to know about the garden, the small house. In that, Mr. Kalosner is doing his invention. Second paragraph, we come to know the close zoom in of the desk, जहाँ पे ये सब रखा हुआ बेंच जैसा, बहुत सारे तार है, इंस्ट्रूमेंट है, 3 फीट का वो 3 फीट का काला कलर का कफिन बॉक्स जैसा वो इन्वेंशन वाला टूल है, उसको राइटर ने कहा है ब्लैक कफिन बॉक्स. ब्लैक इज अ सिंबल ऑफ डेथ, कफिन इज अ सिंबल ऑफ डेथ, और वो छोटा है तो मतलब कि इट्स अ सिंबॉलिक रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ एन आइडिया which will not be executed, which will not reach the stage of completion. Third paragraph. Kalosner moved across the room to the box. The top of the box was open. He bent down and began to peer inside with a mass of different color wires and silver tubes. He picked up the piece of silver that lay beside the box, piece of paper that lay beside the box. Carefully he put it down, peered inside, then started running the wire, then tugging it gently into another, then writing at the paper, then again at the paper, checking what he did for an hour. 1 घंटा ऐसा चला. क्या हो रहा है? ये वो बॉक्स को खोलता है, फिर एक तार एक जैक जैसे वो डीजे लोग लगाते हैं, इसमें लगाते हैं, उसमें लगाते हैं, टीवी के पीछे भी होता है. So he was writing all those notes, कितना में क्या करना पड़ेगा, which vibration will help him. So he was looking into the box, then he was putting the jack here and there, and thereby एक बार यहाँ कनेक्शन ज्वाइन कर रहा था, एक बार वहाँ कनेक्शन ज्वाइन कर रहा था. So this is the description of the box. So if in the exam they'll ask you write about the box, black box, so you have to write this paragraph. It was 3 feet coffin box, black, with lots of wire, with lots of jack, uh, lots of wire littering around, different color wire, silver color tube, and the narrator was making notes about कि कितना particular vibrations में he has to do his invention. Then he put a hand in the front of the box where there were 3 dials. तो एक बॉक्स था और 3 तो पहले जमाने का रेडियो जैसा नॉब था, घुमाने के लिए घुमाने वाला नॉब. He began to doodle them, ऐसे घुमाने लगा, watching at the same time the movement of the mechanism inside the box. So every time he was doodling it, means moving it, there was a change in the, like bike में होता है speed meter, petrol meter. So the moment he was doing it, there was a sign which was moving up. All the while he kept speaking softly to himself. So ये scientist लोग हैं और यहाँ कोई है भी नहीं, और वहाँ so he has to talk to himself. Scientists are normally people who talk to themselves. So he is also scientist and there's nobody to talk to, so he's talking to himself, nodding his head, smiling something. His hand always moving. ये हाथ ऐसे ऐसे कर रहा है पागल लोगों की तरह. Finger moving swiftly and deftly, very strongly. Inside the box, his mouth twisting into curious shape when the thug was delicate and difficult to say. Yes, 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 that's right. ये अपने आप से बोल रहा हाँ ये सही है, ये सही है, ओके 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 ओके, ये करने से होगा, ओके ये करने से होगा, ओके ओके. So this is how the scientist Kalosner is talking when he is moving the dial, and then there is a sign which is showing which particular vibration he is not focusing on, और ये अपने आप से बात करता है. Oh yes, 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 that's right, good. Yes, yes. His concentration was intense, not like as you are watching video with zero or very less concentration. His concentration was very dynamic, very intense, very strong. his movements were quick, हाथ ऐसे ऐसे कर रहा था, and there was an air of urgency here. जब ऐसा कर रहा था इसको बहुत हड़बड़ी है, and there was a suppressed excitement, मतलब बहुत excited था, but he was controlling it. Suddenly, while he was doing all this, he heard the footstep on the path of the उसके घर से, और वो जहाँ था मतलब गार्डन के अंदर वो छोटा सा झोपड़ी जैसा में, तो वहां से किसी के पैरों की आहट सुनाई दी. So he heard somebody footstep. He straightened himself and turned swiftly to the door. तो ये दरवाजे की तरफ गया, and then came a man. He's doctor. His name is Dr. Scott. He is a Dr. Scott. He is a personal physician of this man called Mr. Kalosner. So doctor said, well, this is where you are hiding yourself in the evening. The doctor has been searching him in the house, so the doctor could not find him in the house, so he came here. So the doctor is saying to Kalosner that this is where you spend your evening. Hello, Scott, said Kalosner. I happened to be passing, doctor said. The doctor is saying I was passing from here. So I came in to see. I heard that you're not well, so I came in. How is your throat? He says, I heard कि आपके गले में कुछ हुआ था, दुख रहा था. कैसा अभी throat? Doctor is asking to Mr. Kalosner. Mr. Kalosner is saying, all right. Now I am here. I might well have a look at it. Doctor is saying क्या वो मांग रहे हैं, तो एक बार आप अपना गला दिखा दीजिए तो. Show me your throat since I have come. Oh, please don't trouble. I'm quite cured. I'm fine. He's saying, ठीक हो गया. The doctor began to feel tension. Normally लोग डॉक्टर से इतना curiously पूछते हैं, ये आदमी डॉक्टर को अपना गला ही नहीं दिखा रहा. So the doctor became a bit curious. He looked at the black box, and the man was continuously poking here, poking there, fiddling with all his things. So the doctor said, "What are you doing? And you put on your hat इतना गर्मी में." Then doctor realized, अरे अभी तक हम hat पहने. Oh, have I? Then he removed his hat and put it on the bench. The doctor came closer, bent up to look into the box. He said, "You are making a radio." So the doctor thought that he's making a radio. No, this radio is common. No, just fooling around. So this man, this scientist, would be scientist, or he wanted to be a scientist, Mr. Kalosner. There are two characters, Kalosner and Dr. Scott. So this man, Kalosner, is saying to Dr. Scott, no, I'm not making just, I say, I'm fooling around. So the doctor said, it has got really complicated in art. मतलब आपको बहुत मतलब अंदर में बहुत complex तार वार dial jack ये सब है. Yes, he said. What is it? The doctor said, it is rather a frightening looking thing, isn't it? ये बोल रहा है कि बहुत अजीबोगरीब तो डरावना दिख रहा है. Just an idea. It has to do with sound, that's all. So the doctor is asking, is it to do with sound? Good heaven, man, don't you get enough of the sound? So this man, Dr. Kalosner, ये दिन भर में sound का ही काम करता है, और फिर अभी भी ये sound के बारे में सोच रहा है. So this man is really obsessed with sound. So it is his day work to do something with sound. It's not mentioned, but it is given a hint. And even after his work is done, he is still interested in doing something related to sound. So this proves that this man has a genuine interest regarding sound, and it's at a level of obsession. So the doctor is saying, अरे आप तो sound का इतना काम करते फिर भी sound का ही काम करते. So Kalosner says, yes, I like sound. So it seems the doctor went and turned around. The doctor was going till the door, but then he turned around. Well, I won't disturb you. Glad your throat is not worrying anymore. The doctor is saying, I'm so happy कि आपका throat ठीक है. But he kept standing there. The doctor was not going away from the door. The doctor was standing at the door, looking at the box, intrigued by the remarkable complexity of inside, curious to know what strange patient is up to. So the doctor was curious and he saying, ये patient कर क्या है? वो क्या रहा है? बना क्या रहा है? देख क्या रहा है? तार कैसा? Box कैसा? Was it it? The doctor is saying, है क्या ये? You have made me very curious, inquisitive. Kalosner looked down at the box, then at the doctor, and then अब ये आदमी क्या बोले सोच रहा है क्या बोले. Kalosner is saying how to explain to doctor. So he raised up gently to scratch the lobe of his right ear. I said, there's a pause. The doctor stood by the door and said, smiling, all right, I'll tell you if you're interested. There was another pause. The doctor could see Kalosner was having trouble. The doctor was thinking, कि कुछ बोल क्यों नहीं रहा. वो आदमी सोच रहा है कि बताए कैसे. So Kalosner at last it started speaking in this way. He was shifting from one foot to another, tugging at his ear lobe, looking at his feet, and then he said very slowly, well, it is like this. The theory is very simple, really. The human ear, as you know, it can't hear everything. So, कलोस्नर जो इन्वेंट करने का कोशिश कर रहा था, डॉक्टर को समझा रहा है कि इंसान के कान के एक लिमिट से वो पर्टिकुलर वाइब्रेशन में ही सुन सकते हैं, ज्यादा तेज नहीं सुन सकते, एकदम धीरे भी नहीं सुन सकते. So there are sounds that are so low pitch that we cannot hear, and there are sounds that so high pitch that we cannot hear. The doctor said, yes. Well, speaking very roughly, any note, rhythm, sound, vibrations is so high that is between 15,000 vibrations a second, we cannot hear it. He's saying that 15,000 vibrations tak hum log sun sakte. Dogs have better ear than us. You know, you can buy a whistle, those high pitch that you can't hear, but dogs can hear. He says कि कुछ whistle है, सीटी है मारने वाला, जिसको सिर्फ कुत्ते ही सुन पाते हैं, इंसान को नहीं सुनाई देता. So doctor is saying yes. I have seen it. Of course you have. The scale higher and higher, and there is. So he's saying कि उससे ज़्यादा sound होता है, उससे ज़्यादा sound होता है, उससे ज़्यादा a vibration if you like, but I will rather like to think it as a note. You can't hear that either. And above there is another rising up in the scale forever, an endless succession of vibrations, infinity of notes. There is a note if only ever here could hear it. So high that it vibrates 1,000,000 times a second. Another 1,000,000 times as that, and on and higher, reaching beyond eternity, beyond stars. So here this man is saying कि हम लोग 15,000 per second vibration सुन सकते हैं, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं सुन सकते, लेकिन उससे ज़्यादा होता है. Then he's saying it's not just a vibration, there's a music, there's a rhythm to it. It keeps on rising, an endless rhythm in it, an endless vibration attached to it. It reaches to infinity, मतलब अनंत तक पहुंच सकता है. आगे बढ़ते बढ़ते वो आसमान सितारों तक पहुंच सकता है. So this man, Kolosner, who is trying to invent a machine which can listen to subsonic and supersonic sound, he says that human ear can only listen to particular 15,000 vibration per second, and beyond that, human ear is not entitled to listen. But there are vibrations which can almost touch the sky, touch the stars. Kolosner was becoming more animated. ऐसे बहुत इशारा करके बोल रहा था. He was very frail, weak man, nervous and twitchy. Very nervous और ऐसे कर रहा था. It's called twitchy. With moving hand, his head inclined left. उसका head थोड़ा ऐसे था. His face was smooth and pale, almost white. मतलब उसका चेहरा एकदम lackluster वाला चेहरा था. And a pair of steel spectacles were bewildered, unfocused, remote. He was a frail, nervous, twitchy little man, a moth of the man. So this man wore spectacles and he was very unfocused. He was remote, यहाँ से हिलते रहता था, remote control जैसा, which is not fixed. He was very weak, okay, very twitchy, हाथ पाथ ऐसे हिलते रहता था, okay, very distracted, fluttering and animated, कभी इधर कभी उधर, और बहुत हाथ का इशारा करके, मतलब एकदम हिंदी सीरियल जैसा overacting type behavior था उसका. And now the doctor, looking at the strange pale face, those grey eyes, felt somewhere that this person was a quality of distance. मतलब वो यहीं था लेकिन वो कहीं दूसरी दुनिया में खोया रहता था. As if he was in an immense distance, where the mind was far away. कुछ लोग होते हैं ना, खोए खोए रहते हैं, होते यहीं physically, रहते कहीं और है mentally. So Kolosner is an example of that man who has spectacles, who have bewildered, surprising eyes, not focused on anything, moving from here to there, and his mind was not there along with his body. So the doctor waited for him. The doctor waited for him to go on. Kolosner was explaining. I believe he said, speaking slowly now, there is a whole world of sound about us all the time that we cannot hear. So this Kolosner is saying कि हम लोगों के कान सब कुछ नहीं सुन सकते. It is possible that up there in high pitch, there is exciting music. So this man Kolosner says कि हम लोगों के कान 15,000 से ज़्यादा नहीं सुन सकते, लेकिन हो सकता है वहाँ भी कोई म्यूजिक हो, कोई रिदम हो, या हो सकता है बहुत ही fierce ग्राइंडिंग साउंड, या कोई म्यूजिक हो सकता है वो हम लोग के कानों को अगर सुनाई दे तो we turn mad, If only our ear could listen to it. There may be anything for we know. Yes, but the doctor said, but it's very probable. Doctor is saying possible तो है, लेकिन कैसे? But it's not. हो तो सकता है 15,000 भी हो, 1 लाख भी हो, 10 करोड़ भी हो, but इंसान के कान सुनेंगे कैसे? Is it? It's not very probable. हो सकता है, कैसे possible होगा? Why not? Why not? Professor says, pointing to a fly sitting. तो उसी घर में fly था. So this man Kalashna is saying, you see that fly? And this man is asking the doctor, can you say the fly is making which kind of noise? So he's asking, क्या आप बता सकते हैं फ्लाई कैसा नॉइज अभी पर्टिकुलरली करता होगा? ऑल फॉर वी नो द क्रिएचर में भी विस्लिंग हो सकता है कि वो फ्लाई बहुत तेज आवाज में चिल्लाता हो सकता हो, भौंकता हो सकता, क्रॉकिंग फ्रॉग जैसा आवाज निकालता हो सकता है कि वो फ्लाई गाना गाता हो, उसका माउथ तो है, हो सकता है अपने लैंग्वेज में कुछ ना कुछ वो ऐसा कोई साउंड क्रिएट करता हो जो ह्यूमन ईयर नहीं सुन पाते. द डॉक्टर लुक एट द फ्लाई एंड स्माइल. डॉक्टर भी सोचे आदमी फ्लाई के बातों को सुनने का कोशिश कर रहा है. He was still standing by the door with his hand to the doorknob. So the doctor was still turning the doorknob, was about to go. So you are going to check up. So the doctor is saying, क्या आप एक्सपेरिमेंट करके देखिएगा कि यहाँ कितना साउंड होता है. Some time ago, Kalashna said, I made a simple instrument and proved the existence of many odd inaudible sounds. So doctor is saying कि मेरा ये जो black box है, इससे inaudible sound मतलब वो आवाज जो नॉर्मल कानों को सुनाई नहीं दे सकती, इससे सुना जा सकता है. Often I have sat and watched the needle of my instrument recording the presence of sound. So इसे मैंने अक्सर अपने needle को जैसे वो बाइक में होता है स्पीड का, मैंने उसे देखा है कि it goes beyond normal hearing 15,000 per second vibration. And those are the sounds I want to listen. So he says कि ऐसे ही आवाज मैं भी सुनना चाहता हूँ. I want to know where they come from, how they are. So ये कलशनर को ये सब साउंड सुनने का शौक है कि आखिर जो 15,000 वाइब्रेशन से ज्यादा जो आवाज होते हैं वो कैसे होते हैं. एंड द मशीन ऑन द टेबल देयर डॉक्टर सेड इज गोइंग टू अलाउ. डॉक्टर से ये जो ब्लैक बॉक्स है इससे आपको सुनाई देगा 15,000 से ज्यादा साउंड. इट मे हु नोस, सो फार आई हैड नो लक. ही सेड अभी तक सक्सेसफुल नहीं है, बट आई हैव मेड सम चेंजेस टुनाइट. आई एम रेडी टू गो ट्राई दिस. It is designed to pick up the sound. He says ये देखिए ये इससे आवाज पिकअप होता है और ये कन्वर्ट करके हम लोगों को कानों तक पहुंचा देता है. So it looked like a radio. How do you mean? It is very complicated. Say I wish to listen to the squeal of a bat. He's saying कि अगर हमको बैट का आवाज सुनना है क्योंकि बहुत हाई पिच होता है, about 30,000 vibrations, human ear cannot listen it. Now, if there were a bat flying at this room, बोल रहा अगर यहाँ कोई बैट चिल्लाता, I would even hear the correct note. मतलब उसमें F शार्प है, B फ्लैट है, मतलब साउंड का वैरायटी का है, कौन कितने किस क्वालिटी. जैसे डाउनलोड में होता है कि HD क्वालिटी, नॉर्मल क्वालिटी, दिस मेगापिक्सल क्वालिटी. तो यहाँ भी साउंड का वाइब्रेशन का F B P ये सब इसमें मार्किंग है, लोअर पिच, हायर पिच. The doctor looked at this coffin box, and the doctor said, "Are you going to try it tonight?" He's saying कि आज आप ट्राई करके देखिएगा कि कैसा ये साउंड होता है. Well, I wish you luck, doctor says, and then he said goodbye. I must fly goodbye and thank you for telling me. I must call again and find out. So doctor said, ठीक है हम फिर आके आपको पता लगा के फिर पूछेंगे कि आपका मशीन बना कि नहीं. And he closed the door and went. For a while, Kalashna fussed about with the wire. So ये wire इधर लगाया, उधर लगाया, and then he straightened up in a soft, excited whisper. So ये अपने आप से बात करने लगा. Now he's saying, now we'll try again. We will take it into the garden, and then perhaps the repetition will be better. Then he says कि हम लोग garden में सुनेंगे, तो वहाँ sound और variety होगा, तो शायद एक बार अच्छा result आए. So he lifted up his black box carefully. Oh my God, it's heavy. He carried the box to the door, found that he would not open the door without putting it down. Yeah, he carried it back, put it on the bench, opened the door. Okay, and then he carried into the garden. Okay, black box को लेके garden में जा. He placed the black box carefully on the small wooden table and stood on the lawn. He returned to the shed and fetched a pair of ईयरफोन, तो फिर ईयरफोन लेके आया. He plugged the wire connection from the earphone into the machine and put the earphone to his ear. तो earphone लगा के वो सुनने लगा. The movement of his hand were quick and precise. He was excited. The narrator is saying कि वो बहुत excited था ये सब नया sound सुनने के लिए. He kept on talking to himself with little words of comfort and encouragement. As though he was afraid. So अपने आप को बोला था हो जाएगा हो जाएगा हो जाएगा सुनाई देगा. And the machine might not work and afraid of what might happen if it. तो ये इसको लग रहा था हो भी जाए तो कैसा सुनाई देगा. Then he was saying to himself हो जाएगा. फिर हो जाने का डर भी था. He stood there in the garden beside the wooden table, so small, thin that he looked like an ancient So ये garden में खड़ा था अपने table के बगल में, and he was looking very consummate, मतलब looking as if he's a diseased person. He was looking like a child with spectacles. The sun had gone down, अंधेरा हो चुका था. There was no wind, no sound at all. From there he stood. He could see over a fence, उसके neighbor के boundary के wall के उधर. There was a woman who was doing gardening with a flower basket to her arm. He watched her for a while without thinking. तो उसको देख रहा था. Then he turned to the box on the table. फिर अपने table box पे गया. He put his left hand on the volume. Volume को ऐसे चालू किया, जोर किया. Moved to the needle. Needle ऐसे dial को fix किया. The dial was marked with many numbers in a series of bands starting at 15,000. 15,000 to 1 लाख इतना तक ये यूनिट उसका जा सकता था वाइब्रेशन. So now he was bending forward over the machine. तो machine को देख रहा. His head was cocked to one side in a tense listening attitude. तो ध्यान से सुन रहा था. His right hand was beginning to turn the knob. Knob को right hand से घुमा रहा था. The needle was traveling very slowly across the dial. So slowly, he could hardly see it move. And in the earlobe, he could hear a faint spasmodic crackle. So ये जब needle को ऐसे घुमाया तो अचानक कड़ आवाज सुनाई देने लगा. So this is the description of how this man was listening to the sound of the things in the garden. तो ये garden में सब चीजों को सुनने का कोशिश कर रहा है. Behind this crackling sound, he could hear a distant humming done, which was the noise of the machine itself. Machine का भी आवाज था. But that was not all. As he listened very thoroughly, he became conscious of a curious sensation. उसको ना कुछ अजब सा फील होने लगा. Because इन कानों को सिर्फ 15,000 वाइब्रेशन सुनने की आदत है. So he felt something that he has never felt before. So he, as if his ear was stretched to listen to something that his ears are not normally meant to listen. His ears were far connected to his head by a very thin, stiff wire, like a tentacle. मतलब वो tentacle होता है ना जो octopus का, वैसा लग रहा था अंदर में कुछ. मतलब सब उसके machines थे. The wire were all listening and the ears were going up and down. मतलब कभी आवाज तेज हो रहा था, कभी कम हो रहा था. As if he was trying to listen to those sounds which nature did not want us to listen. So he was trying to go into the forbidden territory. It's a dangerous ultrasonic region. मतलब ऐसा sound वो कभी नहीं सुना था. Those ears had never been before and he has no right to listen. मतलब ये अभी भी ऐसा सुनने का उसको habit नहीं था. किसी भी इंसान को नहीं था because human beings can only listen to 15,000 vibrations per second, but he was trying to listen to something beyond 15,000. So ऐसा लग रहा था कि was trying to listen to some dangerous ultrasonic sound जो इसके कानों को सुनने को इजाजत नहीं है, फिर भी ये सुनने का कोशिश कर रहा था. The little needle crept slowly across the dial and suddenly he heard a shriek. तो जब needle बहुत आगे बढ़ा तो अचानक चिल्लाने का आवाज सुनाई दिया. A frightening, piercing shriek. बहुत तेज सुनाई दिया. And he jumped and dropped his hand. हाथ को नीचे, catching hold of the table को पकड़ लिया. He stared around as if expecting to see the person who shrieked. देखो कौन चिल्लाया, लेकिन वहां तो कोई है ही नहीं था. There was nobody in sight except the woman. But वो तो चिल्ला नहीं रही थी, वो तो गार्डन में गार्डनिंग कर रही थी. It was certainly not the woman. She was bending down and cutting yellow roses and putting them in a basket. अगेन इट द साउंड केम, फिर से साउंड सुनाई लेने लगा, एक थ्रोटलेस इनह्यूमन श्रीक। ऐसा लग रहा था कि जो चिल्ला रहा था उसको कोई थ्रोट ही नहीं, अजीब सा भारी आवाज जैसा, जैसे वो मतलब हॉरर मूवीज में साउंड होता है। द नोट इटसेल्फ possessed a minor metallic quality, ऐसा लग रहा था कोई इंसान नहीं, वो मेटेलिक साउंड that he has never heard. Kalosner was not accustomed to this kind of sound. His ears had never heard it. Kalosner looked around, searching instinctively for the source of the noise. He सोच रहा था कि noise आ कहाँ से रहा है. The woman next door was only having insight. मैंने जहाँ तक नजर जा रहा था, सामने वो नेबर ही थी और तो कोई था नहीं. He saw her reach down, take a rose stem in the finger, with one hand snip the stem. तो देख रहा है ऐसे वो काट रही है, तोड़ रही है, और फिर वो बास्केट में डाल रही है. And he heard the sound again. जब जब वो काट रही है, जब जब वो काट रही है, जब जब वो काट रही है, तब तक उसको सुनाई दे रहा है. He came at the exact moment when the stem was cut. मतलब जब जब stem काटा जा रहा था, तभी sound सुनाई दे रहा था. At this point, the woman straightened up and put the scissor in the basket. Woman सीधा हो गई, काट रही थी, खड़ी हुई, बास्केट में अपना रख ली और जाने लगी. Mrs. Saunders, Mrs. Saunders, oh Mrs. Saunders, so he said it with a very thrill excitement. तो चिल्लाने लगा, Mrs. Saunders. And looking around, the woman saw. Woman घूम के देख रही है, कौन इतना तेज चिल्ला रहा है. So this man was on his lawn, fantastic arm waving, उसको इशारा कर रहा था with a pair of earphone, calling to her in a voice so high. ईयरफोन लगा लेते लोग कितना तेज चिल्लाती है, ये भी बहुत तेज चिल्ला रहा है. So he's saying, cut one more rose. एक और रोज काटिए, please cut one more rose. He stood still. Why, Mr. Kalosner? What is the matter? औरत डर की बोली, ये हमको काटने क्यों बोल रहा है? मेरे गार्डन में मेरा फ्लावर हमको काटने क्यों बोल रहा है? Please do, I say, just cut one more rose. तो बोला, मिसेस सॉन्डर्स को क्या आप एक और रोज काट ली? Mrs. Saunders had always believed Never to be very peculiar. Mrs. Saunders हमेशा ही कलोस्नर को एक पगला टाइप, एक weird समझती थी. But now it seems he has gone completely crazy. पहले वो थोड़ा दीवाना टाइप था, बावला था, अब तो पूरा ही पगला लग रहा है. She wondered whether she should run into the house and fetch her husband. वो सोच रही थी कि क्या हम अपने जाया के हस्बैंड को बुला ले. फिर बोली, नो, ही इज हार्मलेस, कुछ कर तो नहीं रहा, जस्ट उसको खुश करने के लिए एक बार फ्लावर काट देते हैं. So she took out the scissor, went along with the basket, went to the flower tree and cut another. इसे काट दिए एक और बार. Again Kalosner had that shoutful throat. Feels Kalosner को वही बिना थ्रोट वाला भयानक सा आवाज सुनाई दी. He took off the earphone and ran to the fence. दौड़ के रेलिंग तक गया. All right, he said, that is enough. No more, please, no more. The woman stood there, a yellow rose in one hand, clipper in another. तो आदमी ना बोला, अब मत काटिए. उसके एक हाथ में काट मतलब ईयरफोन है, बच्चा चिल्ला चिल्ला के बोल रहा है, और इस वुमन के हाथ में क्लिपर है. वो बोल रहा, मत काटिए. And then Mr. Kalosner said something to Miss Saunders, the neighbor, something which is very difficult for a common human being to understand. Human being cannot understand the pain of common human being. And here Mr. Kalosner is asking his neighbor to understand the pain of plant. I'm going to tell you something, Mr. Kalosner, something that you won't believe. He put his hand on top of the fence the railing, and he looked at her and he said through the spectacles, you have this evening cut a basket full of roses. You have the sharp pair of scissors you cut through the stem. Each rose that you cut trimmed in most terribly. Do you know, Mr. Saunders? He says कि आपने काटा और बहुत तेज रोज ट्री को बहुत पेन हुआ. क्या आपको पता? बोली, नहीं, हमको तो नहीं पता. I certainly did not know that. It happens to be true. वो बोल रहा, हाँ मैडम सही बात है, इससे प्लांट लोग को बहुत तकलीफ होता है. He was breathing rather rapidly, but he was trying to control. He was very excited. जोर से बोल रहा था. I heard them speaking. Each time you cut one, I heard the cry of pain, a very high pitched sound. So he's saying कि जब जब आप ऐसे काटती हैं, बहुत तेज आवाज होता है, a very high pitched sound, approximately 130. So he's saying इतना 1000 vibrations होता है. You could not possibly have heard it, but I heard it. He's saying Miss Saunders को कि आपको तो सुनाई नहीं देगा, because normal ear से इस vibrations को नहीं सुने जा सकते, लेकिन मैंने तो मशीन यूज किया, so I could listen to it. Did you really, Miss Kalaska? She decided that she would make a dash for the house. वो सोच रही थी कि वो दौड़ के भाग जाएगी. You might say, he went on, that a rose bush has no nervous system to feel, no throat. वो बोल रहा है कि आपको लगता है कि रोज बी को नर्वस सिस्टम नहीं है तो वो उनको दुख दर्द नहीं होता, लेकिन होता है. It is not like our, but it has. How do you know, Miss Saunders? And here he leaned forward the fence and said in a whisper, how do you know that a rosebuds feel as much pain? So इसमें क्या पता रोजबड को भी फील होता होगा जितना इंसान को कटने से पेन होता है. If someone cuts the wrist, तो हो गई, हमें कटेगा ही तो पेन होगा, तो उसको भी पेन हो रहा था. How do you know it is alive, isn't it? So he's saying कि ट्री तो जिंदा है तो हो सकता है उसको भी पेन हो. Oh yes, 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 Mr. Kalashna, yes. Good night, good night. औरत को ना डर लगने लगा कि आदमी क्या पांचवी से उनको फेंस से चढ़ के इतना चिल्ला रहा है. सोच ठीक है बाय 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 बाय. Quickly she turned and ran up the garden to her house. Kalashna went back to the table. He put on the earphone, फिर से सुनने लगा. He stood for a while listening. He could still hear the faint crackling sound and the humming noise of the machine, but nothing more. He bent down and took hold of a small white daisy growing on the lawn. He took it between the thumb and the forefinger and slowly pulled it. फिर अपने कान में लगा खुद से एक प्लांट का मतलब एक घास के नीचे एक फूल पत्ती को ऐसे तोड़ा. And he broke the stem. फिर से उसको सुनाई दिया. From the moment he started pulling to the moment stem को दो तीन तोड़ने के बाद उसको सुनाई देने लगा distinctly, very clearly. He distinctly heard the earphone a faint high pitched cry. Curiously inanimate, मतलब ये इंसानों जैसा आवाज नहीं था, अजीबो गरीब आवाज था. He took another daisy flower, again he did it, फिर वो तोड़ा. Once more he heard the sound, but it was not the sound of pain. No, it was not pain, it was surprise. What was it? Narrator saying ये पेन का आवाज है कि सरप्राइज का. ये जो डेजी प्लांट कटने का जो आवाज है कैसा आवाज. It did not really express much of feeling or emotion to human being. मतलब ये ऐसा मतलब एक पर्टिकुलर फीलिंग था जो इंसान किसी को बता नहीं सकता, क्योंकि इंसान इंसान जैसा ही समझ सकता है और प्लांट का पेन एक दूसरे लेवल का पेन होगा which human being cannot understand. It was just a cry, a neutral stony cry, मतलब ना दुख ना सुख, बस ऐसा ही आवाज था. An emotionless note expressing nothing. It had been the same with the roses. He had been working and calling in a cry of pain. Narrator saying कि बहुत दर्द भरा आवाज था, लेकिन हो सकता है उनका दर्द कुछ और लेवल का हो. The flower probably did not feel pain. It felt something else that we don't know. We don't have a word for it. Okay. जैसे हम लोग कोई सामान को ये बोलते हैं, इसको ये बोलते हैं, इसको कुछ बोलते हैं, उस पर्टिकुलर चीज को हम लोग क्या बोलेंगे. Coins, pearl और कुछ का तो अलग नाम होगा. Then you have to invent a new word in the dictionary. He stood up and removed the earphone from his ear. तो ये अपने earphone को remove करके अब देख रहा है कि चारों तरफ अंधेरा हो चुका है. It was getting dark. He could see the prick of the lightning. चारों तरफ अंधेरा हो चुका है. घर में विंडो में लाइट जल रहे हैं. Okay. Carefully he picked up the black box, carried it into his small shed and put it down. Then he went out and looked at the door behind. The door lock किया चला गया. Next morning, कलौसना जल्दी उठा. As it was light, अभी अभी सूरज निकला ही तो ये उठ गया, कपड़ा पहना, and he went to the shed. he मशीन उठाया. Okay. उसे पकड़ के दोनों हाथों से. Okay. अनस्टेडी बहुत भारी था और ये खुद भी हेवी वेटेड है. तो घर से निकला, फ्रंट गेट से निकला, रोड क्रॉस करके सामने एक पार्क था, वहां गया. There he paused and looked around. देखा कोई नहीं था, क्योंकि अगर कोई होगा तो उनका भी साउंड आ जाएगा. So एक there was a beech tree. तो beech tree के नीचे वो अपने मशीन को रखा. Quickly went to the house. फिर घर गया, वहां से जाके एक्स लाया ताकि ट्री को काटेगा और उसका आवाज सुनेगा. From the cellar, मतलब जहाँ सामान बन रहता वहां जाके एक्स लाया. Okay, put the axe on the ground beside the tree. ट्री के बगल में एक्स रखा. Then he looked around. देखा कि कोई है नहीं तो ग्लास से तो कोई नहीं था. सुबह में 6 बज रहा. He put the earphone on his head. earphone लगाया, मशीन को चालू किया. ध्यान से सुना, हल्का हल्का आवाज आ रहा. ईयरफोन लगा के वो एक्स उठाया और ट्री के ट्रंक में एक बहुत तेज मारा। द ब्लेड कट डीप इनटू द ट्रंक, मतलब ट्रंक का जो ट्रंक है उसमें हल्का सा कट गया, दाग हो गया। ब्लेड कट डीप इनटू द वुड, मतलब एक्स का ब्लेड था तो ट्रंक के बहुत अंदर तक चला गया। इंस्टेंटली, अचानक इसको बहुत एक अजीबो गरीब आवाज सुनाई दिया, वेरी हार्श, नोटलेस, इनॉर्मस नॉइज, ग्राउलिंग लो पिच में, मतलब एक अजीब सा लो पिच में लेकिन बहुत पावरफुल साउंड सुनाई दिया। ऐसा लग रहा था कोई चिल्ला रहा था, जल्दी से नहीं, नॉट लाइक द रोज बट इट वाज अ डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ, कोई रो रहा है फॉर अ मिनट। द लाउडेस्ट एट द मोमेंट, सबसे तेज जब एक्स लगा था, और फिर धीरे धीरे उस ट्रंक के आवाज जैसे कोई रो रहा था वो कम हो गया। So the trunk of the tree was crying, and slowly the sound became less and less, fainter and fainter. The listener बहुत चौंक गया in horror, and the place where he had put the axe, वहां से उसको वो निकाल लिया। He took the axe down, walked the blade loose, वहां से उसको निकाला, and threw it on the ground. With his finger he touched the gash, मतलब जहाँ कटा था उस ट्री के ट्रंक को वैसे टच कर रहा था, touching the edge of the gas, trying to press them together to close the wound, मतलब वो ना जहाँ कटा था दोनों को ऐसे जोड़ रहा था। ओ ट्री, आई एम सो सॉरी, आई एम सो सॉरी ट्री, आई एम सो सॉरी, इट विल हील। तो ट्री को बोलने लगा घबराओ मत, घबराओ मत, ठीक हो जाएगा, ठीक हो जाएगा, ठीक हो जाएगा, प्लीज। फॉर अ व्हाइल ही स्टूड देयर विथ हिज हैंड अपॉन द ट्रंक ऑफ द ट्री, बहुत देर तक ट्रंक को पकड़ के वो रोता, मतलब दुख एक्सप्रेस करता रहा। सडनली टर्न अवे, हर्ड टू द पार्क, अचानक वहां से पार्क में गया, रन गुड से अपने घर गया, टेलीफोन लैंडलाइन फोन में नंबर नंबर करके नंबर डायल किया। Held the receiver in his left hand and dial the number. He heard the phone buzzing. तो उस जमाने में आपको कस्टमर केयर जैसा एक फोन डिपार्टमेंट होता था, वहां से फोन करके तब फोन लगता था। तो वहां फोन करके एक आदमी उठाया। तो उस जमाने में फिर वो डॉक्टर से बात किया, वही डॉक्टर स्कॉट जिसको घर का लाया था। डॉक्टर स्कॉट, he said, yes speaking. डॉक्टर स्कॉट, you must come at once please. तो ये बोल रहा है डॉक्टर स्कॉट आपको यहाँ जल्दी आना होगा। डॉक्टर स्कॉट सो रहा था, बोला क्या हुआ, हु इज स्पीकिंग। कलॉसनर हियर, यू रिमेंबर आई टोल्ड यू लास्ट नाइट अबाउट माय एक्सपेरिमेंट, होप आई, ही सेड, याद है कल आप मेरे घर आए थे वो गैरेज के अंदर, आपने आपने पूछ रहे थे ये क्या है, मैंने बताया था आपको ये ब्लैक बॉक्स इंस्ट्रूमेंट दैट इज अबाउट टू लिसन टू मैन सुपरसोनिक सबसोनिक साउंड। ही सेज यस यस यस, बट व्हाट्स द मैटर, क्या आप बीमार है। नो नो नो, नॉट इल बट इन हाफ। तो डॉक्टर बोल रहा है, अरे अभी 6:30 बज रहे हैं, आप हमको क्यों नींद से उठा रहे हैं। ओ प्लीज कम क्विकली, आई वांट यू टू हियर इट। बोला प्लीज आप आइए सुनिए, इट इज ड्राइविंग मी मैड, आई कांट बिलीव इट। बोल रहा सुनिए, सुपरसोनिक साउंड और सबसोनिक साउंड ना हमको तुम पागल कर दे रहा, आप जल्दी आइए। डॉक्टर हर्ड द फ्रेंट ऑलमोस्ट हिस्टोरिकल नोट, डॉक्टर इतना सोचा कि किसको कोई पागलपन का दौरा वोरा पड़ा है, डॉक्टर ही आफ्टर ऑल। सो हियरिंग द वॉइस ऑफ, सो डॉक्टर को लगा कि नॉर्मली ऐसे टाइम पे लोग तभी चिल्लाते हैं जब कोई एक्सीडेंट होता है या उनके लाइफ में कोई ट्रेजेडी होता है। तो ये बोल रहा है, आई रियली वांट यू टू कम एंड लिसन टू द साउंड ऑफ दैट मशीन। यस 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 एट वंस, ऑल राइट देन। डॉक्टर बोला ठीक है, तब आप बुला रहे हैं इतना हड़बड़ी में तो हम आएंगे। कलसनर सैट डाउन बिसाइड द टेलीफोन, कलसनर वहां बैठ गया टेलीफोन के बगल में। He tried to remember what the shriek of the tree was. ध्यान से सोच रहा था कि जब ट्री जब चिल्लाया तो कैसा था, but he could not. He could remember only that it had been enormous. उसको फिर याद आया कि ट्री बहुत बड़ा था, and frightened that it had made him feel sick with her. फिर उसको याद आया कि बहुत भयानक आवाज था। He tried to imagine what sort of noise a human would make if he had to stand anchored to the ground. फिर वो सोच रहा था कि अगर इंसान को ऐसा लगे, उसके लेग को कोई इतना जोर काट दे तो क्या वो ऐसे ही चिल्लाएगा? No, quite different. The noise of the tree was not like human, it was different. Worse than any human noise. More frightening. He says human ear से भी, human के चिल्लाने से भी डेंजर ये चिल्लाना था। It was toneless, में कोई टोन रिदम नहीं था, थ्रोट नहीं था, अजीब। He began to wonder about other living things. फिर ये सोचने लगा कि अगर वीट जब कटता है, प्लांट जब कटते हैं तो कैसा होता होगा। ओ माय गॉड, फिर ये सोचने लगा हम वीट खाते हैं, वीट तो कटता होगा, मतलब कितने सारे वीट, 500 वीट कटते होंगे। ओके, इतना सारा कटता होगा। सोचने लगा कि मशीन काटते हैं वीट, राइस, बार्ली, कितना उन लोग को दुख होता होगा। हाउ वुड आई ईट कैबेज एंड कैरेट? फिर ये बोलता है कैबेज कटता है, कैरेट कटता है, अनियन कटता है, आलू पटाटो और मैं एप्पल, सब सोच रहे सब कट कट के आते हैं। अब इसको दुख होने लगा। अब बोल रहा हम वेजिटेबल कैसे खाएंगे? पोटैटो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, कैबेज, ऑनियन, आलू, जब सोच रहे हैं कि सबका आवाज होता होगा। He heard the click of the इतने में front gate खुला और he went out. Doctor was coming. Well, doctor said, what is the trouble with you? Come, doctor, I want you to hear it. I called you because you're the only one I told you. He's saying, अब आप घर में नहीं, बाहर चलिए, पार्क में चलिए, पार्क में वो मशीन है, हम आपको सुनाना चाहते हैं. The doctor looked at him. He seemed calmer now. काम हो गया, शांत हो गया. There's no signs of madness. डॉक्टर सोचा इसको पागलपन का दौरा पड़ा होगा, लेकिन इसको देख के तो नहीं लग रहा फिलहाल इसको is very disturbed or he is now suffering through some kind of depression. They went to the cross the road, went to the park. The listener held the way to the peace tree, at the foot of which stood the black coffin box and axe. तो उसको ले गया डॉक्टर कलोसनर को और उस ट्री के नीचे उसको खड़ा कर दिया. Why did you bring it here? Doctor asked. डॉक्टर पूछ रहा है कि आप उनको यहाँ क्यों? I wanted a tree. There aren't any big tree in my garden, so I bought it in the park. But why the axe? You will see in the moment. डॉक्टर पूछा axe क्यों है? बोले ठीक है रुकिए तो आपको सब दिखता है. But now please put it on the earphone. तो डॉक्टर को बोल रहा है कलोसनर कि आप ईयरफोन पहन लीजिए और हम ट्री के ट्रंक को काटेंगे, फिर आप सुन के बताइएगा कैसे सुनाई दिए. Listen carefully and tell me afterward how was the sound. I want to make sure you heard it. The doctor smiled and took the earphone and put them over his ears. So वो सुनने लगा. Kalasna bent down and flicked the switch on the pen. Switch चालू कर दिया. Earphone का वो सब मिला दिया. Dial. Okay, अपने पैर को ऐसे खड़ा होके. Can you hear anything? बोला स्विच चालू करके बोला अभी कुछ सुनाई दे रहा है? बोला नहीं सिर्फ हम सुनाई दे रहा है. The listener stood there with the axe in his hand, trying to bring himself to swing, but the thought of the noise that the tree would make him pause again. तो सोचने लगा कि अगर फिर से हम मारेंगे, फिर से ट्री रोएगा, कितना दुख होगा. तो डॉक्टर पूछा, why are you waiting? Nothing, the listener said. And then he lifted the axe and swung it at the tree. As he swung, he felt he thought he could swear he felt a movement on the ground. इतना तेज मारा ऐसा लगा ग्राउंड हिल. He felt a slight shifting of that. ऐसा लगा अर्थ मैंने ट्री के ट्रंक काटने से जो रूट्स होते हैं वो हिल गए, तो ऐसा लग रहा था कि पूरा अर्थ हिल गया. बट इट वॉज टू लेट. तो ट्री कट चुका है. ट्री बहुत एक तो कटा था, फिर वही मारा और कट गया. द एक्स ब्लेड स्ट्रक द ट्री एंड वेंट डीप. मतलब पूरा कट के अंदर तक चला गया. एक्स. At that moment, high overhead, there was a cracking sound of wood splintering and sweeping sound of leaves. मतलब इतने में वुड कटने का आवाज, लीव्स झटझट गिरने लगा. Watch out, run! इतने में डॉक्टर इज सेइंग देखो ऊपर का जो ब्रांच है वो गिर रहा है. The doctor ripped up the earphone and was running fast. Kalosner stood spellbound. Kalosner चौंक गया, staring up at the branch, 6 feet at least. There was bending slowly downward, breaking and crackling, splintering at the thickest point where it joined the main trunk of the tree. मतलब ट्री के मेन ट्रंक पे अटैक किया गया. The branch came, branch ऊपर से गिरा. पहले उसने जंप किया and the branch fell on the machine and it went into pieces. Smack मतलब broke into pieces. Great God! This is बाप रे बाप, भगवान के कृपा हम लोग बच गए. This was a near one. I thought it got you. बोले हम तो समझा आपको ये लगेगा, चोट लग गया. Kalasna was staring at the tree. Kalasna tree को देख रहा है और अपना इंस्ट्रूमेंट को देख रहा है. His large head was leaning on one side, and there was a tense, horrified expression. Slowly he walked up to the tree. Tree के पास गया. He prized the blonde loose from the trunk. वहां तक जाके ब्लेड को निकाला. So and then Kalasna asked doctor, did you hear it? Did you hear it? Did you hear the voice? The doctor was still out of breath from the running and excitement. Hear what? In the earphone, did you hear anything when I struck the trunk of the tree with the axe? The doctor began to rub the back of his neck. He's saying, no, actually, No, I'm not sure I could hear it. I don't know. I suppose I heard the. बोलता हम तो कुछ लम्हे के लिए लगाए थे और इतने में ट्री गिर गया, अंत में जान बचाने में फोकस कर, आवाज आया कि नहीं हमको पता नहीं चला. And then a second later the axe struck. Yes, yes, but did you hear it? I don't know, the doctor said. I don't know. I probably heard it because बोलता है हमको ब्रांच टूटने का आवाज सुनाई दिया, लेकिन डिटेल्स में आई एम नॉट कंफर्म. बट how did it sound? कल उसने सुन के वो exactly sound आवाज कैसा था? Oh hell, doctor said. I really don't know. I was more interested in saving my life than listening to the sound. ये बोला मेरा जान जा रहा है, हमको साउंड का चिंता ही नहीं था. Dr. Scott, what did it sound like? अब ये गुस्सा पूछा, ये बताइए साउंड कैसा था? Oh God sake, how could I tell with half the tree falling on me and I'm running for my life? The doctor certainly seemed nervous. Kalasna has sent it now. Kalasna समझ गया कि डॉक्टर नर्वस है. He stood quiet, staring at the doctor for half a minute. Did not speak. चुपचाप थोड़ा देर वो शांत. The doctor moved his feet. डॉक्टर जो है feet को वहां से हटाया. Shrugged his shoulder. Well, डॉक्टर बोला चलिए 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 हम लोग अंदर में रूम में जाते हैं, वहां बात करते हैं. Look, said the old man, Kalosner, now with his mouth wide open, stuffed with color. चिंता से उसका चेहरा का कलर चेंज हो गया. Look, he said, you stitch this up. So this man Kalosner is saying to doctor कि आपके ट्रंक जो है इसको स्टिच कर दीजिए. Don't be silly, the doctor said. Doctor said, are you mad or what? इतना trunk of the tree में needle जाएगा कैसे? कैसे स्टिच करेंगे? Do as I say, stitch it up. बाद में बोल रहा, हम बोल रहे डॉक्टर आप इसको स्टिच कीजिए. Kalosner was gripping his handle and he spoke softly in a curious, almost threatening note. Don't be silly, doctor said. I can't stitch to the wood. बोल रहा मेरा needle तो wood में जाएगा नहीं, कैसे stitch करेंगे? So you can't stitch? Of course not. Have you got some iodine in your bag? If you have, well, iodine था, iodine लगाइए. ट्री के ट्रंक में आयोडीन लगाइए. Then he put the iodine. Doctor said, "Don't be ridiculous." He said, "घर चलिए." Put the iodine. अब डॉक्टर डर गया कि अगर हम आयोडीन नहीं लगाए तो कहीं एक्स मेरे ऊपर ही ना चला. The doctor hesitated. He saw Kalosner hand tightening on the axe. He decided that only alternative was to run. तो सोच रहा भागने से अच्छा है कि जो बोल रहा है ठीक है, आयोडीन लगा देते. He opened his bag, which was lying on the grass. Okay, 10 yards. He opened it, took out the bottle of iodine with some cotton. He went up to the trunk, or cola. Okay, and put some iodine with the wool. Bent down and began to dab it in the. ऐसे लगाने लगा. He kept one eye on the Kalosner who was standing motionless with axe in his hand, watching them. Make sure you get it right. Yes, doctor said. Now do the other one, just the other one. बोल रहे एक और जगह कटा, थोड़ा साइड पे वहां भी लगाई, ये वहां भी. Yes, yes, yes. It is done. He straightened up and surveyed the wall. बोला ठीक है. That should do nicely. Kalosner came closely, examining the two cut wounds. Yes, he said. Yes, that will do. Now this man is saying, doctor, will you come tomorrow? Oh yes, of course. And put some iodine. बोला कल आइएगा, फिर से ड्रेसिंग कर दीजिएगा, आयोडीन लगा दीजिएगा. Oh yes, yes, yes. Thank you, doctor, Kalosner said. And he nodded his head again and he dropped the axe. उसको जमीन पे गिरा दिया. All at once, the wild, excited smile, and quickly the doctor went over to him and gently took him by the arm and said, the doctor को side में ले आके बोला, come on, you must go now. And suddenly they were walking away, two of them, across the park to the road. So ये दोनों आदमी धीरे 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 वहां से निकले और अपने पहले अपने गार्डन में आए, फिर अपने घर में आ गए. So this is the line by line explanation of the chapter. If you have found any benefit, I request you please share it with your friends and with people who might get some benefit out of it. So please like, subscribe, and comment. How did you like it? Thank you for watching the video.